We're going to cover perm theory today. This can be a little boring, but I'll do my best to make it as interesting as possible. It is a lot of really good information. I'll be referencing chapter 15, page 557. That's in your Milady book. If you don't have the book, no worries. I'm going to flash some things on the screen, pictures, doodles on the board. You'll be able to follow along. And quick disclaimer, if you are watching from school, this does not replace your actual instruction. This is a loose guide at best. So let's get started. 557. Permanent waving is just a two-step process. You're permanently changing the hair. You have straight hair that you are turning into curly hair. 558, 559, this is where it gets confusing. There are two main types of perms. You can have an acid perm, acidic perm, or an alkaline perm. All these other perms in this book, however many, too many, originate from these two. No matter what type of perm it is, it's either going to be acidic or it's going to be alkaline. So those are your two main players, mom and dad, or however you want to look at it. Your parents. Two parents, and they had about 5 kids. Thio-free, low pH, ammonia-free, lots of different perms. But it all comes back to the parents here, acid and alkaline. And that's just showing where it's going to fall on the pH scale. Neutral is 7, it's water. Our hair is not neutral, it's actually acidic with a 4.5 to a 5.5. I almost forgot that. Acidic, right here with the tomato, lemon, and batteries. Alkaline is going to be your drain cleaner, bleach, stomach tablets. Your alkaline wave, these are cold waves. Cold meaning no heat. And their pH is 9 to 9.6, so it's right about here. This is your alkaline perm. Say this with me, ammonium thioglycolate. I don't know, y'all. ATG is the abbreviation. That's the main reducing agent. So alkaline ATG. Alkaline waves process faster and stronger. So this is going to be for your coarse, really resistant hair. It's not for someone like me. I mean, look at my hair. It's very fine. It would melt my hair. Ammonium thioglycolate is also a common ingredient in relaxers, thio relaxers, which is doing the opposite of a perm, curly to straight. That's a very strong product, chemical. So alkaline is the strongest. Remember, we're right here. What was that karate move? Right here with drain cleaner. No heat, they don't need it, they're strong enough. Acid waves are on the other side. This is going to be with your tomato, right about here. Your acid waves, GMTG, glycerol monothioglyocolate. GMTG, main active ingredient. A from the ATG for aggressive or alkaline. Aggressive, faster. G, gentle, slower. The acidic one is slower. It's close to the pH of your hair. All acid waves have 3 parts, and we did an acid wave last week. It's the waving solution with the activator. Hello. Waving solution, activator, neutralizer. 3 parts in the box. So if I were to get a perm, which I have no business getting a perm, but if I were to get a perm, I would need to use an acid perm because it's a lower pH, G, gentle. Doesn't mean you're not going to have any damage, it's just the safer option to use. So the 2 perms, acidic or alkaline, they can be either one. And then now we're going to talk about the kids. Here's all the kids. True acid, acid balance, exothermic, endothermic, ammonia free, thio free, and low pH. True acid wave is 4.5 to 7 on the pH scale. So remember, neutral is 7, your hair is here, so it ranges all through here. A true acid wave. It's taking up a lot of the acidic side of the scale. A true acidic wave requires heat to process. They process a lot slower than an alkaline wave, remember, because this is getting up on the numbers. 11, 12, 13, 14, faster, bigger numbers. And remember that 7 is neutral on the pH scale, but hair is the 4.5 to the 5.7. 4.5 to 5.5. What did I say? Acid balanced waves have a neutral pH of 7. The pH scale is 0 through 14. If you cut it in half, you have 7. Water is neutral for the most part. Depends on what kind of water you're drinking, but here, water is neutral. An acid balanced wave has a pH of 7. If you're with me in the book, we're 559 to 560. We're going to add another layer of confusion. You can have exothermic or endothermic perms. Think of these two as how the heat is produced. Exothermic, excuse me. Should have been an English teacher instead. Exit. Exit. Exothermic perms release heat. It creates its own heat through a chemical reaction, so it doesn't need the hood dryer, it's releasing heat. All exothermic waves have the 3 parts again: waving lotion, activator, neutralizer. Usually when you add these two together, the bottle's gonna get warm. Exothermic, it's getting warm, it's releasing heat. With the increase of temperature, it helps speed up the chemical reaction so it can go a little bit faster. Heat is exiting. Endothermic, endo, inside, you need the dryer, the hood dryer. Endo, inside. Again, usually a hood dryer. Now they've got those other things that do this all over your head. I don't know. I use a hood dryer. You're adding the inside source of heat, and that's gonna activate the perm. Ammonia free, free of odor. Not entirely true. It does still have a scent, but it's not as strong as a true acid wave. And remember, ammonia free does not mean damage free. It's still very much changing the structure of the hair. Thio free, remember the big word, ATG, ammonium thioglycolate, whatever. Thio free. These perms are made for people who have allergies to a traditional perm that use the ATG. But again, thio free does not mean damage free. Low pH waves are a low pH. The pH is about a 6.5 to a 7. Again, water is neutral at a 7. Again, hair is right about here, 5.5 to 6.5. So because they're so close to the pH of the hair, they're considered low pH waves. They're also pretty close to being neutral. You would only use this wave for a body wave, huge rods or rollers, or doing a spiral foam set to create a wave. You're not going to use this for a tight curl or on an older lady who wants a roller set or a perm and roller set. You're not going to use that. That's a lot of information. Just remember, these are the children and the parents are acidic and alkaline. All right, 561, perm selection and processing. This is basically saying that it's important to examine your client's hair. With so many choices, you want to make sure you're making the appropriate choice so you don't underprocess or overprocess the perm. And then at the bottom, there's a chart here. All you need to remember is 5 to 10 minutes. Most of the chemical processing is happening between 5 and 10 minutes. All the work is happening mostly right here. So let's say you're doing the perm like we did last week, and the processing time or the full processing time was 20 minutes. So you have 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. All of the work or most of the work happened in the first 10 minutes here. The cool down time, the 15 through 20, is just allowing the hair's protein chains to shape into that new form. Or shift would be a better word, shift into their new form or new shape. So this is saying if the hair is overprocessed, it happened in this area right here. It most likely did not happen at the end like you would think. The first 5 to 10 minutes is where everything is happening. And if it's overprocessed, you probably picked too strong of a solution. That again goes back to the chart with all the kids. You really have to know all of these perms, and when you go to the supply store, they're all out there. If you forget, it's on the box. They'll tell you what to do. And then you can open the box and all the instructions in every single language you could think of are here. And I'll be doing that too. I'll be in the break room reading this before I apply it, just to make sure. I mean, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed in 15 years since I've been doing hair, but just in case it does. Another number you need to remember is 50%. A perfectly processed perm is only going to break about 50% of the disulfide bonds, so half. Break and rebuild. You're rebuilding them with neutralizer. If you break more than 50, let's say 80, you use the wrong solution. You use an alkaline solution on someone who has very fine hair like mine. You jumped way far out of range. The hair will usually turn mushy and just sizzle up. It's not going to hold the curl. It more than likely will look like this. Here's your roots. And the ends of your hair will be straight. It will fall out. The roots, the top here, this is your new growth. It's the newest hair. It's had the least amount of damage. The ends of your hair are old. So because it's newer, it's gonna take the perm solution. This old, it's not gonna do it. How do you correct this? Really, the best way is just to cut that off. And then you'll have the opposite for underprocessed hair. If you went the other way, also picked too weak of a solution, and you only reform and rebuild 30% of the bonds, it'll be the opposite. This is the roots, and the ends will be curly because the ends are the most porous. They're gonna soak up the chemical like a sponge. Here's a picture of a sponge. That's what your ends look like, a kitchen sponge. It's gonna soak it up. Your roots are newer, they're not as porous. 563 is a long list of tools, supplies. I'm not gonna cover that. 564 is your rod type. Obviously your rod is gonna determine how big or small your curl is. If you use this orange rod, it's going to be pretty large curl versus this skinny blue one, that's a very tight curl. So your rods can be concave. This is an exaggeration. Concave. There's a cave right here, or straight rod like that. A concave rod is gonna produce a bigger curl at the sides here and a tighter curl in the middle because it's smaller. This blue one is a concave rod. See how the caves in? Bigger on the sides, tighter, smaller in the middle. This is not a true straight rod. It's the closest one I've got. Should be just very straight, but it will produce a consistent curl pattern if this was actually straight. So the curls are going to look uniform. They're the same. What the heck? Soft bender rods. I don't actually have these with me, but they're just soft bendable rods. And the rod will have a little wire in the middle so it's flexible and it can bend into a hoop. Loop rods connect and make a circle or a loop. End papers will come in a box that look like this. Little rectangles of tissue paper. These help control or roll the hair. Without an end paper, it's pretty tough to roll a perm because people have layers, breakage. This keeps everything together. There's 3 end paper techniques. The first one is the double flat. So double meaning 2, you're gonna take 2 papers. End paper, pretend this is the hair. End paper. You're making a sandwich, double flat. Single flat, you're using a single end paper, just one. Usually you place it on the top. Some people do place it on the bottom. I always place it on the top if I use this one, but I typically choose to use a double flat. Bookend, you're making a book. Hair is right here inside the pages of the book, and it goes like this. That's gonna be for pretty short hair. All right, 566. This is going into paneling and sectioning. Paneling is how you're first going to section your perm. So let's say this is the back of the head. We're gonna break this into big panels. Your base sections are the little sections within the panel. The perm rod usually will have dots on it, and then there's 2 smooth parts. This is how you measure your panel. You don't want to extend past the rod because the hair would drag in a triangle, create a different look than what you were going for. You don't want your panel to extend past the rod. So you take your comb, panel everything off. Then you're going to create your sections within the panel, and you just take your rod this way, and you want it to be the same width as your rod. Take your rat tail comb, section it off, roll it. 567. Now we're going to look into base placement. Remember the back of our head, we section it off into the big sections, which are called panels, and then we took that a step further and created base sections. We took our rod, sectioned it off the width of the rod. This is the base. Right here is my base. So to create a curl that's on base, it means it kind of cinnamon rolls inside to sit on the base. Let me just wrap this without a rod or papers. See how the rod sits directly on the base? How you get that, straight out, this is 90 degrees. To roll something on base, it's 45 degrees above the base or beyond the base. So it's moved up at an angle like this. End papers, wrap, 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 and this fits perfectly like a cinnamon roll. Half off base is going to be at 90 degrees to wherever the base is. So for this, straight out, just like a 90-degree haircut. This is 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, 90 degrees. If your hair were to all stand straight out, 90 degrees. So for this one, 90 degrees straight out. I put the end papers on, it's wet, I'm doing all the things, rolling it. It sits half off the base. It's not directly cinnamon rolled, that's not even a word, to the base. It's half off the base. On base is gonna give you the most volume. Half off base in the middle, off base, least amount of volume. Off base is off the base. Where on base was 45 degrees above, half is 90, this is 45 degrees below. 90 about here, 45 gonna be right here. And it's sitting directly off the base. You'll have a straighter root. Base direction is just the angle the rod's going. Vertical, up and down, or are they horizontal, horizon, side to side? So that's the base direction. 568, the wrapping techniques. You can either wrap these Krogneagle, that is taking the hair and wrapping it like this. You're winding the hair and it's overlapping. Spiral is going to look like a spiral staircase. They're wrapped vertically, up and down. So Krogneagle, got a cinnamon roll, spiral, well, spiral staircase. My mind showed me a little better picture, but spiral staircase. We're gonna end it there. The rest of this goes into wrapping patterns, a lot of fun wrapping patterns. Piggyback pattern, spiral,